So with this, we begin with this we end this session, and we begin the other session with our resource person, Swati Sushmita Lakda. So we welcome Swati on board, and Swati will be talking about the high value merchandise that we can develop out of trash. So we are talking about trashes. We are talking about trash which lands up in rivers. Especially, we have seen Champa getting trash from all around. So we are talking here about the dry waste. The wet waste turns into compost. So we have been discussing this all through, but now we are talking about the high value merchandise which we can develop out of the dry waste. And here again, we are not talking about plastics. Plastics are recyclables, which the kabadiwalas, they pick up and they get paid out of that, and they finally take it, and those things are recycled. They are upcycled. But there are other things which do not get recycled and they're thrown away. And those things can be utilized to turn them into things like handmade paper, like packaging boxes, and there are many such things which can be developed out of that. So we have an expert over here. She's a designer, she's a doodler, she has been working in this area, and the whole thing is she has a beautiful vision. She also thinks about things which are not in general practice, things that are different. So we thought of inviting Swati Sushmita Lakda, a designer, and who has this avid interest in things which are different, designing things. So here we give the stage to Swati, and we'll try to understand what she has to say about that. Thank you so much, Swati.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I'm Swati, and I would actually start from the presentation itself. I'm a little nervous right now. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Swati.
So shall I share the screen?
Yes, we can start.
So yeah, good afternoon everyone. And here I'm going to present today about how to upcycle dry waste to high value merchandise. So first of all, we start with what are dry waste, like where do dry waste come from, and what are the waste which we ignore and have, and the kind of waste which has potential to stay along with us with a different purpose. So it's actually said that waste isn't a waste until we waste it. So yeah, what are the potential waste we use? That one second. What are the potential waste we can use to upcycle or recycle products? We'll start with domestic dry waste. So today I'm going to concentrate on three types of wastes which I've had experience with, which are domestic dry waste, which are agricultural wastes and byproducts, and textile factory wastes. So domestic dry wastes. Domestic dry wastes are, can I just, yeah, thank you. Domestic dry wastes. So these are the kind of dry waste which we experience in everyday life. We can't really ignore it. We keep on buying stuffs and plastics keep coming in. So the first thing which we can do is we can, try avoiding it as much as possible. Food wrappers, plastic bottles, one-time plastics, and chips and Maggie packets and cold drinks, even Tetra packs, they all go to trash lands. Agricultural wastes, I'll go to next. Agricultural wastes, I would say, what happens is once the rice is harvested, once the wheat is harvested and all the crops, the residue which is left, they are kind of, even like they are fed to the animals, or they are just left like that to burn it, or just to, they just throw it away. So in my recent few years, I came across people, and I learned that, all these wastes, we can do something about it. They are not waste actually. They are fibrous, and they are important for us, and we can do a lot with it. So there are rice stubble, wheat husk, corn husk, banana stem, flax residue, coconut fiber, etc. We kind of tend to throw it away. Next comes the textile factory waste, which we have seen it in the roadside somewhere. The leftover cloths from the textile factory, which generally we don't really find a use for it. But today I'm going to show you that there are, bigger purpose than lying on the ground outside. These are what happens to banana stem when they are just left like that in the field. The rice husk, the corn husk, coconut fibers. But we do have a solution. Like someone said, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So we can upcycle and recycle waste to produce useful products. And I'll start with how, since I'm an architect, I would like to introduce you how I and like my mentor and me, we had been, uh, working on how to use waste in a fruitful way in terms of architecture. How to redefine vernacular architecture and how to use local materials, because vernacular architecture is our own traditional building, as in जो इंसान जहाँ के होते हैं, every people living in different geographical conditions have different sort of lands and different sort of atmospheric conditions, and due to which certain things are available and certain things are not. And ignoring the local products, I mean ignoring the local sources, resources, and going for concrete is an option, but why not redefining our own local materials, our own locally available materials? How about incorporating innovative building techniques using waste materials? So I was working with DD Contractor back in 2016, and there I learned how to work with mud houses. I have seen mud houses at my village and in Bihar, in Jharkhand, in everywhere. People, village matlab, mud houses. So taking mud houses to another level was another thing. So rethinking mud houses and using local materials. These houses have been used, these houses are built with sun-dried bricks, which are made with rice straw and mud, and mixed with clay and a little sand, and using whatever the local material was. Suppose this was in Himachal. So in Himachal, locally available material was, yes, mud was a locally available material, bamboo was a locally available material, and slate was a locally available material. So we used slate only for the roofing, because slates we get from mining. But the mud and the stones were available in abundance. So basically the idea is that why create more carbon footprints when we can reduce it and minimize it to the minimum? How about building a house from the material from where the house is built? you know Anyways, we built a foundation for the house. We dug up the ground to start the foundation. The material we extract, and we can use those materials to make bricks. We can treat the materials in such a way to make it more water resistant, more how do you say that, more durable. And how bamboo and woods are available. So combination of all of these with fantastic vision towards vernacular architecture we used to come up with interesting implementation of ideas of how to use less concrete, or the minimum amount of concrete. So this is how we were using vernacular architecture. This was Sambhavna in Palampur. And so a picture from back 2016. We used to dug up and we used to plow the mud. We used to make bricks like this, and we used to make buildings out of it like this. So they were trained masons. So we even used to we even used to experiment a lot with mud. We used to use paper mache to mix with the mud to give a smooth plaster to the mud house, and it definitely gave a very smooth finish. Like, it doesn't look like any other regular hamare village ka building. These are more posh and more delicate, and I mean more decent, and it's more professional work. You can see every inch, with that delicacy of work. So next I come with plastic bag walls. So we also experimented with plastic bag walls. These are basically plastic big bags जो cement के बोरे आता है. Plastic big bags filled with discarded empty ऐसे plastic wrappers and tetra packs from shops and houses. So they used to collect it, and they used to mold it and tie it together to give it a shape, like a cubical shape, so that they can use it as the walls, because reinforcement takes the strength of the building. So the walls, it can be filled with something else, as in if the building is of a ground floor building, as in if it is a one-story building, then we don't need to put a load bearing wall. We can actually experiment with different types of wall. So this was one type, plastic bag wall. So this shows how it was filled with tetra packs and all those things. This was one initiation. Another one was wattle and daub. Wattle and daub walls, this was also a non-load bearing wall. This was used on the first floor in a one-story building, and hollow walls filled and packed with plastic wrappers, which is going to stay as it is for actually 500 years, because plastics take that much time to decompose. So basically the idea was that since the plastic is anyways going to stay, so how about make it stay in a place where it can be used also. So we used to make hollow wooden plank wall, in which we used to have aluminum foil on the outing as a layer, so that it doesn't leaches outside the toxic gases if it produces, because along the time it's going to decompose very slowly. Yes, it's going to take 500 years, but it's gonna release toxic little bit gases, and it is possible. That is why for safety we use aluminum foil on the lining, and we fill it, we like tightly pack it with plastic wrappers. वो कुरकुरे के पैकेट्स आते हैं ना, कुरकुरे के पैकेट्स we used to we collected from 20 to 30 houses, and that was enough. We got around 5 to 6 bori of plastic wrappers, and we used it to fill it inside, and that's how we covered it. You can see it here, and that's it. From outside it looks as normal as any other wooden wall, and it's very light for the building, so the building is actually taking no weight at all. Now let's go to agricultural wastes and byproducts. So basically this was my main topic where I wanted everyone to see the agricultural waste and byproducts. Recently I came across few people with whom I was working, and they kind of showed me a new spectrum of what else can we do with agricultural waste, rather than feeding the cattle and letting it rot in the farm. So, we can make handmade paper. So basically, all the husk and stem and whatever residue which is left from the farm, it is nothing but it is fibrous, it is cellulose fiber, and you can anything with high quality, a quantity of fiber, it can be transformed into paper. So this amazing lady used to transform so many different materials into paper. Paper itself can be, once we make a paper, with paper we can make so many different products. So this was a banana fiber. Banana fiber was one of my favorite fibers amongst all the plant fibers. So we uh, these are the paper pulp. Okay, one second. I'll introduce you one more thing. Yeah, textile industry. I forgot to tell about. So what happens in textile industry is when the residue, the leftover cotton, the leftover cotton rags, it's actually goes to the waste. It goes to landfills. It nobody does anything about it. So what we can do is we can actually pick it up and we can segregate all the colors, how much of the colors we want, and like there must be 10,000 different colors. We can actually segregate it, and we can transform those cotton clothes into like cloths into paper. That what we can do is we can use gray cloth to make gray paper. We can use pink cloth to make pink paper. The process is what we do is we cut it and we segregate it and we beat it in a machine, in a beating machine, and we make the pulp out of it, and then we strain it and make it into paper. These are the pulp which is made from respective colored cotton rags which we got from textile industries. This was gray and this was pink, so no dye was used, and everything was natural. And the main thing about like why paper? We're choosing paper because uh, normally in a paper factory, a lot of water is wasted. Like basically for making any paper, 25% is the pulp and 75% is the water is needed to make anything. So the amount of water it goes, plus to get any ordinary white paper, to get a white paper, the fiber is not white, like the pulp is not white. What happens is we need to use bleach to give that white color, and using bleach is not good for not good for the nature, not good for the environment, because after the water is treated, I mean after the water they dispose the water in the river, and the river is polluted and it harms the river. So what we try to do is um, so in this company, what we did is we recycled paper, we recycled water also. We had an ETP plant in which we used to recycle water, but also the thing is we didn't use any dye. We didn't use any sort of chemicals, so the water was already pretty clean. So yeah, this is it. So the pulp, different types of. These are the papers that we used to make. So it is possible. There are different types of there are different types of crops, leftovers. I mean, how do you say that? Um, like banana stems and you know corn husk and rice husk and all those things. What happens is so there are many types of plants which are so fibrous, and we kind of don't use it, like hemp and lemongrass and mulberry and flax and banana stems, as you saw, coffee and jute. So all these things, once it becomes a paper, it gives a new texture of its own. It kind of has a different quality of its own, a different feel. So a flax paper would look different than a banana paper. Flax would look like the color of a flax. Banana paper would give a different sort of color, and mulberry paper will give a different sort of color. There is all natural color and natural materials. This was the flax seed residue turned into flax papers. These are actually, the left side one is flax tissue paper, which are the thinnest of the paper, which are actually stronger than our normal tissue papers which we get in the toilet. So the right side one are the thicker flax paper, which are really strong. So these papers are actually stronger and sort of um, a more water resistant than the normal paper which we use. These are black cotton rag papers. So the cotton rags which I was talking about, these are those papers which are made from black cotton rags. They were segregated and specially, segregated for making black papers. This was a coffee husk paper. So here you can see the texture of the coffee husk paper. You can experiment with, a different texture and different patterns, however you want. It's all playful method. And the papers are strong too. So these are the ideas which I wanted to carry forward with all of you guys. That there are so many possibilities. Once we start producing a basic product, we can create um, create the next level products out of it. Like once we made the paper, we can use the paper for envelopes, and we can use it for notebooks. These are notebooks with different types of papers, and yeah, these are notebooks. This is hemp, and the bottom one is of jute. So they used jute also to make papers. Jute has a very beautiful texture. So what happens is, it's not so ideally what paper we are using in daily life is actually harmful for the nature. Knowingly, unknowingly, we tend to use it, we tend to waste it, and we don't even understand that these papers, they don't decompose. It just goes to the landfill. It is just waste, and it'll eventually, release methane, and it'll be bad for the environment. So the better option is to use non toxic papers. These papers, are not coming from tree. We are not cutting tree to make these papers. We are actually using the waste, and we are upcycling it to make it a product. And unlike the usual papers that we use. But the thing is, it is difficult to convince people that you know that these paper use handmade paper, because usually handmade papers come expensive. But to make them aware, and to normalize handmade paper, I think this is a very nice option to you know um, how do you say that, uh, it's a very nice option to take initiative about it. And once people are aware that why use these kind of papers and not the toxic papers, because because the normal papers, they come cheap. So we have to give a very solid reason to people about how like why choose handmade papers and not normal papers. We have to tell them about the bigger cause, the bigger reason. So yeah, taking it forward. So yeah, we can do packaging. This packaging, in this picture, whatever we see is everything is made of paper. Everything is made of paper. You know, starting from this thing, paper mache candle stand, you know, and paper, there's this notebook, there's this paper coaster, paper mache coaster, there's this box, and there are roses, and there are packaging materials. So everything is out of paper, everything is tree free. That is the biggest thing which we can do. You know, we can avoid cutting trees. How in this like COVID-19 few days back, when because of COVID-19 people were buying so many toilet papers, and you know it was so unusual, and people don't realize that, you know, a toilet paper which is white in color, and it has come from tree, and so much water has been wasted behind it, but no one cares. If people have it, people just use tissue just like that, you know. People are not mindful regarding using paper. So um, to make it more normal and to reduce cutting of tree and have a normal usage of paper, we can actually use the our agricultural byproducts to transform into papers and use it as we want. So there is seed paper envelope. So what happens in seed paper is, uh, seed paper has seeds embedded in it. Once you are done using the envelope, you can actually plant it. You can just have you can just put water on it and just keep it little damp for 1 day, and 1 day or 2 day it will start germinating. So yeah, this is one of the coolest idea I came across. And gift paper, like seed paper gift tags. So yeah, this is banana paper gift tag. So paper mache is another amazing thing. So paper mache, paper, the strength of paper, how we perceive is that paper is terrible, but paper mache takes paper to another level. Paper mache is the paper pulp, but mixed with a little more corn flour, and it, it, it makes it works as a clay. We can use it to make anything we want. Here they have used it to make coasters, they have used it to make bowls and plate mats and everything, but they have also used it to make furnitures, which is still durable. I mean, people are still using it since more than 1 year, and they are pretty strong and they are pretty tough. So these are the you know, the possibilities a paper brings in. So that okay, we are using our own. We're not cutting trees, and we are getting paper mache. We are taking paper mache to another level, and we can make it you know, high end products, and we can sell it. So the biggest thing which I wanted to say was that having, suppose having a paper factory, okay, paper to make papers we need a paper factory, and paper factory can actually support livelihood to our localites, and they require, definitely they require a lot of manpower. So it is actually a good idea to have it in a place where, you know, people need support for their livelihood, and where and people can be trained easily for that. And it's a very day job, and you know, women can be involved in it. There are so many things which women can do, like they can sew the notebooks, they can make the paper mache, the bigger work, as in, you know, working in the factory side, doing the paper, making the paper pulp, and treating the raw materials and everything. For them, for that, uh, the men can be given, uh, you know, chance to work for this, and the women can work in the other stitching part and the designing part and all those stuff. So this kind of looked like a very interesting idea to, you know, work with. So we had been designing plates, mats, and posters and everything, and the prints on it, even on the prints on it. So all these prints which we see are actually screen printed, which is also sort of water-based paint. so it is also not toxic. We made tree-free Rakhis last year. So these all Rakhis are made of those plant fiber papers, and all the prints which you see, except those tiny dots, those ornamented things, those are bought from the shop, but everything else is made in the factory itself, and except the band. So this is one idea. Another one is, so I designed this paper lamps for the company, and it kind of sold pretty well, and it was quite expensive, and it reached high-end clients. So this was banana paper pendant lamp, and which is made up of banana fiber. Banana fiber is the strongest amongst all the plant fibers available. Banana fiber is the strongest, and the paper is beautiful. And also, banana fiber is so resistant to water. You would feel like it's a, you know, nothing happens with water. It feels like that. You can use banana paper for packaging mostly. If you want a waterproof packaging, to seal it airtight, mostly you can use banana paper because it is the best for that. So yeah, and this was screen printed flax tissue paper pendant lamp. So these paper were, screen printed, and they are made of flax, tissue paper. So they are very thin than the usual paper. But everyone is like translucent and emits a different sort of natural, very warm kind of light. So banana paper gives a very warm, yellowish light in the room. It's beautiful. There are the other lamps which I designed. This was for a stand, like banana lamp, for keeping it beside the bed. And there was this another off-white cotton rag paper lamp. This the lamp in the middle. It is made up of cotton rags, like the rags which I was talking about, the textile industry rags. So those rags. So all of the if we are designing for pink paper, then we would segregate pink color, similar color cloths separately, and will make that itself into the pulp for the paper. So similarly, the off-white cotton had off-white cloth, the rags, the story from where it came, this paper. And similarly, those black koala lamp, that is also made from the cotton rag paper. So that's it. And also I wanted to talk about, there are other possibilities. How do I... Okay. There are other things also which I wanted to share. They were like, I wanted to talk about second-hand clothes. Our
On
stigma with.
here.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are, Swati. Go ahead.
So I was saying that our stigma with second-hand clothes. How I was actually wanted to talk about how second-hand. How our old T-shirts, land up being a pocha in home. How to avoid that, and how do I avoid my favorite T-shirt to not end up being a trash. Not end up being a pocha in the house. I want to save it. So what can we do about it? So I thought, how about we collect T-shirts from people, and with the cool banners and everything, like how we have a graphic in the T-shirt, we save those graphics in form of a different product. Like, how about a pillow cushion? A cushion cover. We can transform a T-shirt into cushion cover. We can give a cloth a different angle to it, as in we can we can give a clothes a different touch, and we can redefine clothing, and we can produce it as a whole new thing in front of them. I was thinking about how t-shirts can be transformed into toys, and how old saris and old blankets can be transformed into quilt and giving it a new definition. So yeah, that's what I'm open to any suggestions and any.
Thank you so much, Swati. This was very interesting. I now open the floor for discussion. If there is any question, please, you're free to you pose your questions. And I see there are some questions in the chat also. For example, one of the question is from Ramesh Molia ji, that nylon filter is harmful in tea bags. So can banana fiber be used in tea bags?
Banana is already non-porous. I mean, it is already so water resistant and so strong that it can be used as the outer cover, as in for packaging the whole bag to export or to anything. But for dipping it in the tea, I would not recommend. Probably another type of papers can be used, like flax paper can be used for that. Flax tissue paper can be used for that, but not banana paper. Yeah. Next is,
Hello, ma'am.
yeah.
Ma'am, very nice presentation and very informative for regarding upcycling and recycling the bioresidues of agricultural crops. So during this pandemic coronavirus and way forward, how do we look into the upcycling and recycling at villages level, and how this your industry has cope up during manage the strategies during this pandemic situation where the most of the lockdown was there, and how will be the way for looking into the banana residue and management of fibers.
So the most affected people during this were the city people, I would say, because people were far from their houses and people were living in cities. The people living in villages, the people, I mean, the farmers, they were still working. They were still doing what has to be done, because time is running and the season doesn't wait for anyone and the weather doesn't wait for anyone. So the plants are growing, and the harvest time will come as usual when the harvest time comes. So whatever residue, I mean, whatever leftover is used and was produced earlier, it is still the same. It is not reducing or anything. Like, the farmers are still working. So our resources are still coming in that way. So now what happened is, now that people are coming back like to their villages and from cities, now that there are more unemployed people available in, like, locally in our places everywhere. So these people, for these people it will be really helpful if we can provide them with a with this deal that they provide us these resources, and in exchange of that we give them a complete different view on what can we do with these resources, which used to end up in cattle feed or used to rot in villages, just rot in farms and everything. So I think this is actually a better time to pitch in. We'll have a lot of waste
Yeah,
to use.
it's very nice, and it's one of the better option for uprising our Prime Minister wise vocal for local,
Yeah.
and product diversifications are very much essential in order to sustain, and it is also very cheap fiber. It can be utilized for many other purposes.
Exactly, exactly. And these plant fibers, these I mean, it's not so common in India. So that is why nobody talks about it, and very less people buy it, and that is why it is expensive. But once we aware people, once people start knowing about it, and once the local are informed that it's their product, it's their waste which we are using to make a high value merchandise, then it's a profit for them and it's a profit for us, and it's for the bigger cause. We are helping the environment, so it's a win-win situation, I see.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Any more question? Do we have any more question? Okay, Swati, I have a question. I was thinking that in Bhagalpur itself, we are seeing that garbage lands up in our Champa. So there must be thousands and, actually thousands of Champa across the country, similar smaller rivers where all the cities or towns garbage land up. So now that we are promoting segregation of garbage and we are promoting composting of the wet waste, the dry waste, amongst the dry waste, we have seen that plastics always goes for recycling. There are recyclers who take plastic and then they are remolded into whatever thing they want to mold them into. What remains and what lands up in the river is usually these kind of garbage, which I think can easily be turned into a high value product, for example, paper. So Bhagalpur also is a silk town. It is a textile town. Also, we have a lot of tailors, and the tailors already always have these little pieces of, little bit of clothing material left over. So, all these things, do you think can go and together create some paper, some handmade paper kind of a merchandise? And then from there, the villagers where we work in, the women are always invariably saying that, they work in the fields, they have their own work in the fields, but most of the time of the year, they are unemployed. And they say the time when we are sitting, hamare baithari ke time pe, can you get some employment for us? So do you think there is some kind of opportunity for these women to create paper, and once the paper is created, they can further go into creating products out of those papers also? For example, it can be boxes, it can be files, folders, it can be, what do you say? It can be other things. For example, if we are producing soaps, like people, the Resilience Lab is promoting handmade organic soaps so that our rivers remain clean. So why, when we have to package those soaps, why do we look at some other company outside the city from Calcutta or maybe Delhi to get the packaging done? Why can't we use these kind of materials to package so that an entire value chain is created, where right from the beginning, your raw material till the packaging part, it is being done in your villages, in your district, and you're creating the entire product by eliminating the garbage of the city. So in one way, you are addressing the garbage, and on the other hand, you are also providing employment and creating new product. So what kind of opportunity do you see in this, Swati?
So I
The
see
paper
that,
part.
yes. So the time when the paper, we start making paper, like we strain it and we start pulling out papers. Before that stage, there are 3 to 4 different stages, 3 to 4 different things we need to do, like segregation, like cutting off the fibers and everything. So these are the kind of things which is kind of takes a lot of time. So these women in the village who are free to work for that, they can actually sit and prepare for making the pulp. Preparing for making the pulp is a thing. because once you prepare it, then the beater does what has to be done, you know, beating the material and making it a machine. So the uske pehle wala part can be done by the women. The thing is, uh, the main thing that these things are landing up is because of lack of awareness. Like we all know it. So the initiation, what we can do is, you know, since I heard about that treatment plant which you were trying to build, and I was thinking, how about you know, you build it using materials in which you like recycle plastics, like in which there was this plastic brick walls, you know, something like that. So in that, what happens is we go and collect garbage from people. So these rat pickers who go and pick things from the road and everything, how about we give them a purpose, you know, that you pick this particular type of thing. If we give them that purpose, they'll they'll they're doing their job, and they're also picking it for the better purpose, which can be used for another thing. So these kind of things, you know, the word goes from door to door like that. And these women can do the segregation part. These women can do the background preparation part in terms of paper. It can, you know, easen up the process, and these women actually play the role that in that part where you need to prepare and you need to sit and cut down all these things. So they can work from a place wherever they are. That's how I feel. And later, when the pulp is done, the straining out the thing can be done, but it has to be done in a, like, people mostly do it inside the factory. But outside the factory wala job is that segregation and cutting wala part. So yeah, there is a role for everyone actually.
Also, since we want to employ more and more people in this, do you think this can be, when we say it is handmade paper, is it, can it be really handmade without
Yes.
much use of too much of machinery? Some machinery, of course, will be needed, but by avoiding a lot of machinery, can we reach out to more people? Can we give employment to more people?
Yes. Yes.
But at the same time, doing a good job of it. The product should be good.
Yes, yes.
Possible?
The Yeah, it is possible. The main thing is the people have to be trained accordingly. They have to give a proper training, because picking out paper, like making paper, is a very delicate process, and it usually breaks out. And if you're not patient enough, if you're not doing it properly, if you tilt it the wrong way, it just, you know, breaks out, and the paper is not smooth and things like that. So if they're trained, if you are able to train 100 number of women, then you are better to go on with it, you know. It can be done. It is possible. Definitely it is possible. In that company where I saw this, they were all women working, so it was beautiful. Everyone was involved in that, and it was all handmade. There was no extra machine used. Like, it was not a machine like paper mill wala machine where they make paper. It was all done with hand. They were lifting papers with hand. So
How eco-friendly are these procedures in terms of wasting of water, one, two, in terms of producing pollution? uh, because of your experience, I'm asking, does it produce pollution, one? Two, and does it waste a lot of water?
so basically what happens is, like, mostly for making paper, we use 25% of the pulp and 75% of the water. So it is that kind of ratio. Sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes it's 30-70, like that. So yeah, a lot of water is used. But the idea which was interesting was that they had an ETP plant which was cleaning up the water to uh, almost, you know, clear water level. After using what happens is, you take the plant fiber, you have to cook it. You have to cook it in caustic soda to break down the fiber, so that it you know, it वो आराम से ऐसे फैल जाता है ऐसे छोटे छोटा सब जगह, so that you can strain it, तो वो uniformly सब जगह फैला हुआ है. So that is one thing. So when we beat the water, थोड़ा बहुत मैल तो होता ही है in the water, in the materials and everything. When it's washed, when it's being beaten, the water when it comes out, it's actually dirty, but it's not that dirty that it will pollute the river. But if you want to use it again, you can actually use the water again. So in that institution, what was happening was they were using the water again and again. They were recycling water. They were not they were using उतना ही पानी जितना हम लोग घर पे लेते हैं, मतलब उतना normal in a factory. They were recycling water again and again. They were treating the water in ETP plant, coolant treatment, yeah, that plant, and they were getting water again. So again, they were using it for beating, and again it goes to the plant. Again, it clear water comes back, and they were doing that thing again and again. So what was happening was no water was wasted, no water was going anywhere. It was going in the treatment plant. It was coming back again, clean water. So there was no wastage. In this way, what we're doing is we're saving water, and we're producing more as compared to what we're using. And yes, handmade paper has a different texture, different feel, and it is more expensive. So we only high-end clients would, only high-end clients को वो appreciate करते हैं. But we want to normalize it because we want to save water, we want to save trees, and we want to save the river basically. So what we're doing is, even if we are having a paper factory, we are not disposing the water in the river as compared to any other paper factories in India.
Okay, interesting. Bhagalpur produces a lot of maize. And because of that, we have those corn, the cobs that is left behind. Can that be used as a material for paper or maybe fiber or whatever? Can that be used?
Definitely, definitely. People have made corn papers before. It is really nice paper. It has a very smooth texture. It is really nice. Yesterday itself, I was working. I was talking to this person. There's this guy who was working in that factory. He was working in the in the processing part where they make pulp and they beat it and they train the paper and everything. So he was telling me how beautiful corn papers are, and how I told him that Bhagalpur mein corn available hai, Bihar mein aise rice available hai, wheat available hai. How about it? So they were like, yeah, they make beautiful papers. So yes, it is possible. Just that हर plant का fiber content थोड़ा बहुत different होता है, तो उस हिसाब से हम लोग कभी-कभी पेपर लाइक जो ट्री फाइबर्स होते हैं उनके साथ हम लोग कभी-कभी कॉटन का पल्प यूज करते हैं थोड़ा बहुत फॉर मोर स्ट्रेंथ इफ इट इज लैकिंग इन स्ट्रेंथ. द कॉटन रैक पेपर, द टेक्सटाइल फैक्ट्री से जो रेसिड्यू मिलता है छोटे छोटे क्लॉथ्स, उसके पेपर्स बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग बनते हैं. वो हमारे नॉर्मल पेपर की तरह होते हैं. बाय द वे, ऑल द पेपर्स which we make here, everything is printable. Like we can put it in a printing machine and we can print it. It is that regular type paper. Just that it's handmade paper and it's tree-free paper, and we are not wasting water. So yeah, bond wala is available. It's possible, definitely possible.
So that much from my side. If there's any more question, I would welcome that.
Yeah, I have one question. Hello. Yeah, I have one question. How much minimum investment is required to set up a paper factory? And are you providing training and support for the initial establishment of such factory? Thank you.
So actually, I have no idea about it. Like, I have no clear idea about the investment part, but regarding the ideas and exploring of the things, I was mostly, focusing on that part. So sorry for now, but I'll get back to you once I have the information, because even
I
I'm
would
trying to
like to
figure
answer
out.
that. I would like to answer that. I have done some research, some homework on that. I have done some research on that, and there's a place called Jagadri in Yamuna Nagar. So there's a place called Gurpal Engineering Work. You can note that down. Gurpal Engineering Works. They are producing machines for this, and like there are those beater machines, those calendaring machines, and things which are needed. And the entire cost of the setup is for a medium setup for an MSME unit, one setup. You would be requiring around 8 lakhs. And with GST and with transportation and all, it will cost you around 10 to 12 lakhs, maximum 10 to 11 lakhs, depending upon where your place is. So the investment is around 10 to 11 lakhs for the machine, and the training is provided in Jaipur. Just a second. Training is provided in Jaipur. Jaipur, there is an institute which I'll get back to you. Whoever is interested, I can get back to you. I am forgetting the name, but that is a government institute only, which provides training on this, how to go about making paper, and even the products after that. This institute is in Sanganer. Sanganer is the place known for block printing.
All right. Thank you so much. So kind.
So anybody else who would want to ask questions on this, please, you're welcome. So I think there's no more question. And I thank Swati so much for this session. Both the speakers, Dr. Chandrasekhar as well as Swati, you have given perspectives to us in their own respective areas. And people has really benefited from these talks. And since we are working in these particular areas, it has been very beneficial. We are going to come back to you. And thank you to all the participants to have participated in this. And you can please go to our Facebook page, People the Resilience Lab. Please like the page, and you will find the work that we are doing, and all the recordings of this session will be uploaded over there. Also, this Facebook page is also very informative as regards rivers, environment, and issues that circle around that. So you're most welcome to follow our page and see what we are doing. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
What's the page? Facebook page ID?
People the
It has been
Resilience
put in
Lab.
the chat. It is called People the Resilience Lab. We have put it on the chat. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you so much. And the two resource persons. Thank you so much.